Hello, Michelle.
Hello, thank you.
I'm so happy to introduce you to Vietnamese audience and welcome everyone to the interview. So I want to have a short introduction about Michelle. So I know about Michelle like a few months ago when I joined his training on leadership and marketing program. And one thing that I keep like one thing about Michelle that I remember he keep telling me that don't forget your dream bigger and go after your dream, like that's your slogan, and you are the example of what a person who go after your dreams. That's why I'm very happy, and it's a pleasure to have you here on the interview today.
You are very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So, first of all, I can you share a little bit about your background and where were you from and what you doing now and other things to the audience here?
Yes, thank you. I I'm French. I mean, on my passport is written French Republic. It's like for Vietnamese people on your passport is written the Vietnamese Republic, right? I'm French from the south of France, so I have a Mediterranean culture. I love to talk, so if I talk too much, please stop me. So I'm French. I have two children. My son Thibaut is 27. He's working in Dubai. He's a businessman like his father. And I have one daughter, Alice. She's 24. And she is a long-term medical doctor student. She's in medical studies, year number 8 in Paris now. So I have 35 years career in marketing, always international. And 5 years ago, my dream number one happened. I moved and to live and work in Asia, in Vietnam.
Mm,
So in a summary, that's what I can say. Another last important point, I have two lives. I am in my life number two. Very
yeah.
important. What is the difference? In my
Mm,
life number one, I don't believe dream can happen.
yeah.
My parents had told me, Michel, you sleep, you dream. This is good. When you wake up, you work and you study. You work and you study. You work and you study. Dream
Oh,
never happened. So I trust my parents.
yeah.
So this dream of moving to Asia was 35 years ago, but I forget about it.
Mm,
But in my second life, now my dreams happen. So my dream number one happened, my dream number two happened, and now I work on making my dream number three happen.
yeah. So talking about how you were raised in your family, where your parents didn't encourage you to go after your dreams, and you thought that a life would be something like you study well, you work, and you earn a high-paying job. You try to climb a corporate ladder, and you keep going after that goal, or you get married and have kids, and then you forget about what you want, like
Right, right. This
since
is
you were
this is
young.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is exactly what my parents told me: work and study, and I did that. I work and studied, and then especially my mother told me, then you marry a good girl. Oh, okay, but what is a good girl? So I do that. I do that. I get married, and my parents, also my family love children. I grew up, I was
Mm,
really very lucky to have loving parents, a loving family. So Michelle, when you are married you have children. Okay, so I have children. One thing, two things my parents did not tell me.
yeah.
The first thing is they were wrong about dreams, and the second thing, they did not tell me that life is not always beautiful and happy. They
Mm,
forgot to inform me that some accident, personal accident, real accident in life can happen, and they forgot to tell me about the midlife crisis.
yeah.
When you are 40 years old, you have one midlife crisis. I did not have one; I had three midlife crises. So all kind of possible accident I had. So one day, because of this midlife crisis, I forget about what my parents told me, because I subscribed to a training. I'm talking about 15 years ago, and the topic of the training was write down your dream, make it happen.
Mm.
And I was so desperate at the time, because I was going through very challenging life crisis, that I listen to the teacher. I write down everything and I do exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And after some time, I see the possibilities for my dream number one and my dream number two to happen.
Mm. Yeah. So the reason why you go after your first dream because you had like some crisis in your life, and then you need to find another direction in your life, and then you go to that training, and they ask you to write about your dream. That's when you were reminded about what you dreamed before.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So
That
why?
was
Yeah. So the why Vietnam is the destination of your first dream.
so 35 years ago. I was a student attending MBA university in Paris. I'm talking about the year of the 80s. And in the 80s, in Europe, in America, the big topic was about Japan, because
Mm.
Japan, after Second World War, had been destroyed by two atomic bombs, and American and European business people could not understand why this country, who was destroyed after 30 years, is the number two economic power in the world.
Yeah.
So the business school sends us as students to Japan. As a
Mm.
student, I go and work in Japanese companies several months. That's my first contact with Asia, and then I love it. This is so different, so
Yeah.
different. Either I go back home and I never travel again, or I stay there and I learn. I learn about the culture, I learn about the language, I learn about the history, and I decided to stay. And then I went to study in a university in Korea. And then my first job, during almost 2 years, I worked in the French embassy in Malaysia. So you can imagine I was
Mm.
22, 23, 24.
Mm.
I spent 2 years in Asia, and I got what we call in French le virus asiatique, the Asian virus. I loved it. That was a good virus. I wanted to live and work in Asia. That was my dream. But
Yeah.
I remember my sister got married in 1988. I go back to France, and then I remember the teaching of my parents, Michel. Forget about
Mm.
the dream; it never happened. You must work, study, work, study. So I do that. I forgot about
Mm.
this dream, and I work and study. And why Vietnam is a long story. Many probably we need another video, but many events happened in my life, and even before I was born, that take me to
Mm.
Vietnam, point to
Mm.
Vietnam. So several events before I was born, and then after I was born, I always go back to Vietnam. Just to give you one example, I get married officially in 1994, 1994. My wife, her name was Frederick, did not ask me where I would like to go on honeymoon. She told me, Michel, for honeymoon, we go to Vietnam. I say,
Mm.
okay. So in 94, I go to Vietnam. It's just one example for the honeymoon. And many, several other events happen. I start to develop personal ties, personal relationship, family kind of relationship with some Vietnamese people.
Mm.
And then 10 years ago, my children were teenagers. Maybe you remember or you don't remember, but teenagers everywhere in the world, they start to talk to in a strange manner. And my
Mm.
my son, my daughter was talking to me Hey, daddy, I am big now. I am strong. I know everything. We don't need you anymore. Oh,
Yeah.
you don't need me? Okay.
Yeah.
Bye bye. Bye bye. I moved to Vietnam. Oh, daddy,
Ah.
you moved to Vietnam? Yes. Yeah, you say you don't need me. Bye bye. So it's just a little bit of joke to explain that,
Yeah.
okay,
Mm,
my children were becoming adults. I have a
yeah.
very close relationship with them, but they have their life, right?
Mm,
So I can live where I want. So my ex-wife, 15 years ago, had fallen in love with another man. So she gave me my freedom back, and my children becoming adults, I was free again, like a man of 20 years old, right? So
yeah.
6 years
Yeah.
ago, I come here and I check, can I open a company? Can I invest in real estate? And yes, so and then 5 years ago I moved here and my first dream happened.
Yeah. So, when thinking about moving to Vietnam, is there any obstacles along the way, or is there
Obstacle,
anything, yeah, or
obstacle.
challenging? Yeah.
Oh, oh yes, oh yes, many. And still today, I
Mm,
don't, we don't get in the detail, but yes, but this is part of the dream coming into reality,
yeah.
and yes, there are obstacles for sure, but I love Vietnam. I love the people, the history, and I love the challenges. I love the challenges.
Yeah. So, is there so between the obstacle and what you want, you decide to choose what you want instead of let obstacle stop you. So for most people, when going after their dreams, I think what stop them the most is that they think of the risk and the challenges, and also the obstacle that stop them, or of the hardship maybe that will come up. And for you, how do you see that about challenge and hardship,
Yes,
and all those things?
yes. Then we move into coaching, mentoring. How do you face obstacles? Take example of one person has a dream. It's very clear, and the dream can become reality. Then we move into action
Yeah.
planning, coaching, mentoring, and how to face obstacles and how to deal obstacles. So, and then we talk about education.
Is that something that you are now teaching in your training programs?
Yes, what the global topic is coaching. You can put many things in that box. You can call it coaching or mentoring or facilitating, but this is about doing what we want to do as a person or as a team, you know.
Hmm.
And good coach ask good questions. Okay, what are you afraid of? Or what is the obstacle number one? Or do you know about your priorities? Uh, do you have an action plan? How do you manage your priorities? How do you manage your time? Good coach asks good questions and provide help when necessary or when asked. Or I need a training. Okay, then in 1 hour we can do a very quick time management priority settings, for example. Right? Yes, I have many of these, let's say, experience and tools because in my own life, personal life, professional life, and to make my dream happen, I had to face the obstacles as well. And still today, I
Yeah.
don't tell you now, but next week I have a very important appointment, and this is a big one, right? But I'm getting ready for it. I am getting ready for it. I know how to be strong and how to keep my health and be strong, and I will face the obstacle. This is part of life, you know. Imagine if there were no obstacle.
Hmm.
If imagine if everything was easy, we would become lazy and watch TV all day. I think,
Yeah.
or
You
we
know,
would
yeah.
listen. We would listen to your nice YouTube piano recitals.
You know what? Like, what I feel very fascinating about you is that you, in your, like, you already retired. and you're still very active, and you keep doing something new, go after new projects, new goal, new dreams, see new people, and even like travel alone in rural areas in Vietnam. That's not very common lifestyle that
Yes,
most people have. Like for
yes,
example, my parents, they now retire, and they just want to stay at home, you know.
yes.
And do you think that is because of your personality is different from other people, or what makes that difference?
I have listening to you. I have two answer. The first one is most people, or a majority of people, you are talking about your parents, stay in their first life. They stay in their first life. People tell them you must retire, or they retire.
Mm,
They don't imagine they can have a second life, because they don't imagine a big dream. A dream is something that seems impossible, could become reality and change their life. So a majority of people are in their first life, so they retire. This, and the second comment is, this word retirement, is a very modern word. First, in many countries, the developing countries or poor countries, retirement does not exist. I mean, a
mm,
government
mm,
program to pay
yeah.
for retirement does not exist. Even in Vietnam, where the law now exists, uh, I was looking at the statistics a few months ago. Less than 30% of company pay the medical insurance and the retirement money for their employer, for their employee, even if the law, Vietnamese law, asks them to do so. Even in Vietnam, is very new. So retirement is a very modern word, and 200 years ago, there were no government retirement system, right? So this word retirement has been invented recently, and for me personally, this word means nothing for me, except that, yes, I worked 20 years in the companies in Europe, so in 5 or 6 years from now, I will get some retirement money from the French government, but this is the only thing it means. Uh, I will die working. I'll be working. I'll be
Yeah.
teaching. I'll be teaching some young people, and I'll be dying. This is how I will die.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
uh, I will for sure not die in my bed. No, no. And the other thing is, when you think that you have only one life, you start to think about death. I give you one
mm,
example. When I was
yeah.
a kid and a teenager and a young adult in France, the big number was 60. Oh, when you are 60 years old, this is the end, because when you are 60 years old, you retire, you cannot work anymore, and soon you will die.
Mm,
This is,
mm,
I am 59 now.
mm,
Soon I'll be 60.
yeah.
I don't believe in all this. This is
Yeah.
not true. I I
Yeah.
I first I will keep on working, uh, and having these dreams to make happen gives you a very strong motivation to take care
Mm,
of yourself and to take care of other people.
mm,
So in my dream 3 and 4 it has a lot to do with taking care, helping other people. To be
yeah.
able to help other people, I must start to help myself. I must
Mm,
first be strong and healthy. And when
yeah.
I'm strong and healthy, then I can help other people.
Mm,
I spend a lot of time every day early in the morning to take care of myself. Meditation, exercise, eating healthy food, talking to the people I love, of course, bathing. I mean, I take a lot of time every morning to take care of myself, and I make sure I have a strong health, physical health and mental health. And then with this, I can have a second life. I can make my dream happen, and I can be strong with the people I want to support.
Yeah. So what's the motivation behind all the dreams that you want to achieve?
This is a very good question and very important. The only answer I have is love. I
Mm.
I thank I thank, let's say, the spirits. Okay, we are
Yeah.
human beings. We are part of us is rational, emotional, and each of us agree or not, but we are as well spiritual human beings. Okay, different group of people give different names. I mean, Buddha or God or other names, the spirit of the forest. But so I thank the spirit because I was lucky as a child. My parents were alive. They were good. They were like everybody else with their weaknesses, but they gave us, the children, a lot of love. And all this love I received from my parents, from my family, now in my age group, I I I must I must share this
Mm.
love. So the answer to your question, what is my motivation, is I this is very important for me. I must share this love, and this makes me happy.
Mm.
When in the training,
Mm.
a business training, or when I help some people in different manner, and I see it makes them happy, then I am very happy.
Mm.
This is my
Yeah.
motivation, sharing this love I was lucky to receive as a child.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you. And also, what's your difference between the first life and the second life that you live? You mentioned that you have a first life. How many years that first life happened?
So my
And
first life is still I am 45 years old,
mm,
and when I was 40, I learned in that training that dreams come true, right? But it takes another 10 or 12 years that my dream number two happen. My dream number two is about be independent financially. So in my first life till I am 45, my dreams don't happen, right? And between 45 and 50, 55, I see my second dream happening. And 10 years ago, I see my first dream possible, moving to Asia, moving to Vietnam. So the difference between the two life is, first life, like many people, I don't believe in dreams. In my
mm,
second life, my dream happened. And very important, for dream one and dream two, I make it happen myself. But for dream three and dream four, I need to help other people make their dream happen because I need their help to
mm,
help me make my dream three and four happen. So it's a
mm,
little bit new. And now,
mm,
really, if you ask me what do I do for business, for work, I say I have no choice. I must help other people to make their dream happen. Yes,
mm.
this is very new in the last 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good philosophy because you only get your dream happen when you help other people, or you give values to other people, even in business or in life. I think that's a good philosophy. And also mention about spirituality, spirituality, spirit.
Spirituality,
Yeah,
spirituality.
um, yeah, you mentioned before, like we had a conversation before, and you mentioned about how important God in your life, and before that, you think that you can control your life, and you can go after. Yeah, share a little bit more about that.
Okay, so let's talk about spirituality. Um, we all come from somewhere. I was born in a very typical French family from the south of France, and 80% of these French families believe in God, or they
Yeah,
are so-called God believers or Christians, right?
yeah.
So my own experience of spirituality is a long story, but where I am now in my life is that when more than 15 years ago, I was really very challenged by three midlife crises. I was desperate. I got sick. I was crying. I was some days I was crying. I was suffering, and I was very angry. I
Mm.
was angry. Okay, in my case, the name of the spirit is God, so I was very angry with God.
Mm.
And to make a long story short, I was very surprised. Um, Whatever the name of the spirit, I believe these spirits are very well organized and they are very strong. Um, I could be Buddhist, I could believe in Buddha. That would be the same thing for me.
Yeah.
I accepted to I accepted to start to listen to this spirit, in my case, God, and
Mm.
then started a journey that I could not imagine that would happen, to the point that today in my life, you imagine my life is a car, or
Mm.
your life is a car.
Yeah.
Most people will say, okay, this is my life, this is my car, I drive the car of my life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can answer your questions, but I can very honestly, it is now more than it was before I moved to Vietnam. So it's 7 or 8 years. I accept that this is not me driving the car of my life. This is my
Mm.
spirit. I mean, not my spirit.
Mm.
This is this spirit that we call God. For me in my life as a believer, I accept God is driving the car of my life. I resisted during many years. I always said, no, 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 I drive the car of
Mm.
my life.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and this has a very big advantage. And this is also
Yeah.
why I feel very comfortable in my second life, is that when you drive yourself the car of your life, the stress is on you.
Mm.
The obstacles are on you. And
Mm.
stress is a disease that weaken
Mm.
your body, that weaken your brain.
Mm.
When you let someone much stronger than you, like God, drive the car of your life, the stress is on God. The stress, I have no
Mm.
more stress. And
Yeah.
when there is an obstacle, like next week, I know I have a big obstacle, I have no stress. I don't
Mm.
worry. Well, I do what I have to do, but I know that the driver, my driver, is very powerful. Nobody can challenge God. Nobody.
Yeah.
So I have no stress. So this is also another particularity of my second life. In my second life, I make my dream happen. I make the dreams of other people happen, and no stress, because I accept God
Mm.
driving the car of my life.
Mm.
If you want to ask me more, please tell me.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, this is concept I think is even true for me. For 25 years, since I
Yeah.
was born 10, for 25 years, I always think that I am the owner of my life, and then I drive, I control everything, my work,
Yeah.
relationship, and everything, and to the point, like, yeah, I have to the point where I have a chronic disease too, and I have crisis too. And then I
Yeah.
realized that I need to accept that I'm not in 100% control of all the things that will happen to me. And what you say is very right. And when thinking about spirituality, if you like sometimes surrender to a higher power than you, that will
Yes.
make you feel like you don't have more, you don't keep burden on your shoulder anymore.
Yes.
And you're right about this, will make you feel like happier, no more stress. And when thinking and and working in that way, and this is something that I think is very resonate to me. um, and also now you working with companies and managers or companies in Vietnam. And what are your views on working with Vietnamese people, Vietnamese company? And do you think anything that we can change or improve in order to develop?
So yes, um, yes, Vietnam. is going now through a very important transition. In 75, Vietnam was very poor and destroyed. In the 90s, Vietnam had to go to war in Cambodia. So all these years of war made Vietnam become a very poor country. I'm talking about 30 years ago, 20 years ago. So in the last 20 years, 30 years, Vietnam has made tremendous progress, very
Mm.
strong progress to not to be poor anymore. And the first thing is to make sure everybody has food to eat and the children can go to school, right?
Yeah.
So, and this has happened in the last 35 years, based on an economic model, a social model with two or three characteristics, and I will give two of them. Number one is export of low price, low quality product, and number two, short-term financial speculation. This is
Mm.
over. This way
Mm.
of developing is over. All experts agree. In Vietnam, international experts agree. And the Vietnamese government in 2016 and confirmed in 2021 during the 5 years party meeting that Vietnam must change economic model and change, starting to attract companies that will produce value added products to keep the value in Vietnam instead of letting the French buyer or the Chinese buyer make the profit
Mm.
on the back of Vietnamese companies.
Mm.
First
Yeah.
decision, and second decision, legalize and prevent short-term financial speculation, which sooner or later makes a crisis, particularly in the field of real estate. So
Mm.
this long introduction to come to your question, what to do, what to improve. Well, in the next 30 years, Vietnam has many challenges to face, but I will answer with one. One is about education.
Mm.
Education in many areas. Uh, and when I meet a new company or some new people, I ask them to spend 1 hour with me. Why do I say that? And I have a presentation in English and Vietnamese about Vietnamese history
Yeah.
of the last 100 years, and to make people remember that Vietnam is in a unique historical position. Vietnam is the only country who was during 60 years at war.
Mm.
This is the only country. And so, for most of the people who listen today,
Yeah. Yeah.
the parents, your parents, and your grandparents, they were at war. They had no time to learn. They could not
Mm.
go to university.
Mm.
They could not go to
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
So the short answer, the summary to your question is what to improve is education, and
Mm.
I'm not talking about education for the children or for the university student because you have that already. I am particularly talking about what most adults don't do here is about executive education, which is education for people who are adults already.
Mm.
Otherwise, yes. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. And also, like, yeah, I remember when I attend your training, you emphasize on education, and I can see your passion and your desire in that. You want to not just come to Vietnam to work here, but also you want to help Vietnamese people and Vietnamese company
Yes.
in education and
Yes.
to upgrade themselves about knowledge, about skills, so that they can do more with the companies and this is something that I think is very true because you're right, Vietnam spent so many years in war, but like for example you have French and you have like you don't have that went through a lot of war like that, so you have better education and maybe that's why you have better understanding or doing things and other things. So I think when you come to Vietnam and you open training and coaching programs for companies is very helpful. And also talking about education, I know that you have a dream that you want to build a education center for ethnic children
Yes,
in Lamdong province. Can you share
yes.
more about that?
Okay, so dream number three. Uh, 10 years ago, let me think, 2010, 11. So between 10 to 12 years ago, I had dreams or visions about. I was seeing images, children, women who need help, children
Mm,
needing help, and several events happened, which clearly in my spiritual life meant, Michel, there is a job for you to do. Wow. But where?
mm,
Who? Where are these children, right?
yeah.
So I looked and I studied and I tried different possibility, but it was not there. And then 5 6 years ago, I understood that in my life I had to move to Vietnam. So these people I would find in Vietnam, but I came to Vietnam. But Vietnam is a very big country. So
Mm,
where are these people I can help? Um, and then 10 years ago, I had already traveled in the highlands, in Kontum and Pleiku,
mm,
Bon Matrot, of course, Dalat. And
yeah.
then I met, remember the driver of the car of my life? He's driving. So he shows me short term what to do, and long term he's doing it. So 2 years ago, this dream started to activate. Like suddenly, I was meeting some people who were putting me on the way to make my dream three happen and meet the people I
Mm,
would support. And in the last 18 months, I traveled a lot in the highlands, especially in Lamdong province. And starting this year, I had enough signs, I had enough indications which confirmed to me that I find where I must start to invest and support. So yes, I
yeah.
became friend with a local family in the north of Lamdong province, is in a very poor district called Damrong, Damrong district, very poor, many ethnic people, and very nice. I mean, this is a very small village, and it's very maybe it's unique, but in this small village, you have two ethnic group, and one of them
Mm,
is the so-called Vietnamese people, but the Vietnamese is the name for everybody in Vietnam with the passport, right? So the dominant ethnic group, the Kin people, are everywhere, and this is good. And in that
yeah.
village, the traditional authority, the Kin people, is living with another ethnic group, the Keho people. And these Keho people
Mm,
have land and houses, and they have the official property title. And this is very unique. And there is a history which dates back to the war. Why in this
mm,
village, ethnic people also have property title? Because in all other area I visited, including Kontum and Pleiku, ethnic people, they have no property title because they don't know what it is, right? I
yeah.
mean, before the Kin and before the French, before there were roads, these people, they are nomad. So be it in Amazonia, in Latin America, or in Africa, or here in the highlands, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, people are nomads. So they stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they move. They
Mm,
stay 2 3 weeks and they move. They don't
yeah.
need to own land, or they don't need to own a house. They don't even know what it is. Um, so I became friends with one of this family, and the parents are my age, and the grandparents were living at the time of Dr. Alexandre Yersin.
Yeah.
Dr. Alexandre Yersin, end of in 1894, 1895, moves to Nha Trang, and he did many things for Vietnam. And one of the things he did, he was walking in the forest, and by a river, he meets some local people, and I'm talking about 1895, I think. And he find this place very nice. It is in the highlands and good air. And in those days, the French people were suffering a lot from the tropical weather. And he asked the governor, the French governor at the time, to build a city.
Yeah.
And the French governor asked, okay, but what is it? He says, in French, he tells him, this is the river of the Lat people. Lat. Lat is the name of another ethnic group.
Mm.
So Lat in Lat dialect, and river in the Lat dialect is Da. So in English or French, the river of the Lat people in Lat dialect is Da Lat.
Mm. Yeah. That.
Da Lat, the river of the Lat people. It started
Mm.
like this. And then after 20 years, Dalat was born, right?
Yeah.
So the grandparents, I mean, if you visit Dr. Yersin Museum in Nha Trang, he was taking pictures, black and white. If you look at the pictures, they are like, they nomads,
Mm.
no
Yeah.
clothes, just a spear and living, I mean, eating the product of the forest, the banana, and shooting a
Mm.
monkey or a bird and on the barbecue. And so
Mm.
I became friend with one of his family, and spiritually we are very close, and this family have 10 children, and one of them is the age of my son,
Mm.
27 years old,
Yeah.
and he's the only one who went to university in Dalat. His name is John.
Mm.
I don't know if he's listening now, but his parents decided that he had the potential and the capacities to lead. And I think they were right. This young man has a very good potential, of course. He has a lot to learn. And he's speaking three languages. He speaks English like you and me.
Wow.
He speaks Vietnamese like you. And he speaks Tieng Cơ Ho. He speaks
Mm.
the Cơ Ho language, right?
Yeah.
And his parents, his father gave him a land, so he has a land. He's calling it John's Farm. And I was there 10 days recently, and I had the most fantastic organic food ever. Organic vegetable from the garden, organic chicken, organic fish from the river, things you cannot even buy in Hanoi or Saigon, right? Or you will need to spend a lot of money. Over there is all organic, and I can go and swim in the river.
Yeah.
You know, I live here in Saigon in a very expensive place. I cannot go and swim in the river. It's you know. So
Yeah.
yes,
So coming back to the question I asked you, like why? So the
why?
person that inspired you to help to do the dream that you build an education center is
It
that
started.
family.
No, it started as a dream 10 years ago, and now
Mm.
the people,
Mm.
who were in my dream, I was looking for them and I found them.
Mm.
This is a group of people in a very poor district, Dam Long
Yeah.
district in Lamdong province. I found them there. So we are starting now to build an education center that will also be used for a local family to maintain the center. We have started to
Mm.
build the bathroom, and end of
Mm.
October, I will go back there with two friends, and we will take a decision to start the phase two, buying the wood and the bamboo and the grass, because this is a local, typical house with the product from the forest, to make what we call in English a long house.
Mm.
A long
Yeah.
house, all in wood. And
Yeah.
in that house, then can have many use, and one of them will be meeting room for educations. Yes.
Mm, yeah, that's awesome, And in the audience here, I have a few comments in French. I don't understand. I'll show here. Can you translate it? This one. J-
J'aime
J'aime
bien la
bien.
France. I love France.
Ah,
I like France.
and this one.
You know a lot about Vietnam.
Oh, yeah. So thank you, Martin Hui, for sharing your comments. And also, there's a question in English. Given the current situation, how could the young Vietnamese get the opportunities to advance beside their
Okay,
dream
okay.
and
I have a
passion?
very, this is, thank you, Mr. Loy, for this question. It's a very good question. And the answer is very clear. Number one, don't be afraid. I repeat, in French, n'ayez pas peur. In English, don't be afraid. In German, keine Angst zu haben. I could say in Italian as well. How do you say in Vietnamese, don't be afraid? Can you please say that? Don't
Yeah,
be.
đừng sợ, đừng
Okay.
sợ.
Why? Why? Because the young Vietnamese people in Vietnam, so let's say people 35 years old, 40 years old, 35 years old, and below, this is 45 to 50 million people. You are young people in Vietnam, 45 to 50 million young people.
Mm,
So, how to get the opportunity to advance beside the dream, to be successful? First, don't be afraid. Number two, don't stay alone. Network.
yeah,
Work
that's right.
together. Work as team. Networking. Why? Because you have a big number. So wherever you live in the village or the city, get 10 young people or 20 or 100 in Hanoi, in Saigon, 1,000, 2,000. Nobody can stop
Mm,
45 million young people if, number one, you decide you are not afraid, and number two, you decide to network, to
yeah.
work as a team, and to learn.
Mm,
You can change this country, and I can see it already. You are going, you young people, in the next 30 years here in Vietnam, you are going to change this country. So I summarize. Number one, don't be afraid. Number two, network and get together because you are young and nobody can stop you, but don't stay alone and learn.
yeah. So talking about, thank you so much. So talking about don't stay alone on network. Do you think that is a skill that most young people lack nowadays? That you see that we want to work alone
Yes,
and we don't do teamwork or other things.
yes. I was like you. When I was 25 or 30 or 35, I networking is why, and I have other things to
Mm,
do. I mean, you will
mm,
hear, and I hear now. I was like you. I was saying, oh, I am busy. Networking? Why?
mm,
No, I no time.
mm,
Big mistake.
mm,
I did this big mistake, and today I regret it. Let me explain.
yeah,
When I moved to Vietnam, I am French, and I don't speak Vietnamese. And I am
yeah,
not working for Coca-Cola or Unilever, I am an
yeah,
entrepreneur. I make money, I eat. I don't make money, I don't eat, you
yeah.
know. So I need help. I need help.
Mm,
So how to need help? I must meet people. I must network. And 5 years
mm,
ago, I started to network with alumni and with Vietnamese people. And then I become very good at it, and I see the value of networking. The key first point is go to the networking meeting or start a networking process and go. And you will establish a personal relationship with two people, five people,
yeah,
10 people. And when you
yeah,
have this personal relationship, when something happen, personal or business, it will happen. But the first condition is you must accept to go to network, yeah, online meeting, offline meeting. You must accept to go. And second, to establish connection.
mm,
Then beautiful things will happen on in your personal life and your in business life. And in the last 5 years, I've seen that happen many times, and it makes me happy for the reason I told you. I feel like a grandfather. So when I see young people, I see young people happy because they meet some new people, and because I organize networking, it makes me happy.
yeah,
So the but I today I work on 4 projects, and two of them have to do with networking,
mm,
and in two different topic. And I every time, every day, every week, I see the resistance to that, and I understand because I was like this. I resisted many years to networking, and I regret it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
regret it. So part of the answer to the previous question is go together and do things as a team. Network.
Hmm. Thank you so much. I think all the things that you shared today is very meaningful and helpful to us. And now before we end the interview, I want you to share a little bit more about your work in Vietnam, what you doing here with your trainings, and what you help with the
Okay.
companies. Yeah.
So in Vietnam, I have two business activities. The first one does not take much of my time, but started 30 years ago. I invest in real estate. So I have some real estate property in Europe. And when I came to Vietnam 5 years ago, I invested in properties here. So this is providing me with a revenue, but this is not taking a lot of my time. So I
Yeah.
invest I invest most of my time in my new venture, which is UVA Company Limited. So UVA, U for understand, V for vision, and A for action. So this company is about the mission of this company is delivering value to satisfy the needs of our clients. So B2B companies, particularly small and medium-sized Vietnamese companies, serve the needs of these companies in the field of education, on marketing planning, strategic planning, coaching, leadership education. This is
Yeah.
the mission of the company. So I have done, so UVA, if you translate, you understand in a good business plan has to do with your market analysis. So you analyze the situation. V, the vision is the long-term strategy. And then when you have the market analysis and the vision, the long term, you plan the short term and you move into part three, action.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
this is one example of education.
Mm.
I have been analyzing the market 4 years in Vietnam, in Saigon, and now I am starting during 1 year. I will every quarter test the market in Hanoi. So I did my first training test in September, and I will do the second test in November in Hanoi.
Yeah. Yeah. So for all the people here, if you are thinking about opening your business or you working in small business or medium business, so Michel's training is about marketing and leadership, and I attend two of his trainings. It's very helpful, and he has a very different and strategic mind that I don't because I am someone who attend a lot of trainings and education or coaching program before, but Michelle training is very different. He work with you individually and build that strategic planning for marketing for your business, and also he's someone who's very strong at motivating and encouraging and also very strategic mind. I can imagine, because like before I do business based on my instinct, but when after I learn with you, I know that there will a lot of strategy, a lot of work to do in a strategic way. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing your story, your mission, and also what you're doing for Vietnamese people in our country. I'm really grateful to have you here, and I hope that you continue, fulfill you all the dreams that you have for yourself. And for all the audience here, if you want to work with Michelle, here some of his contacts. You can contact Michelle on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And he's a very friendly and open-minded person, and very helpful. And he can help you with his training and all the education. And thank you so much, all the audience, and thank you so much, Michelle, for joining the interview. Do you have any last word for all the audience here?
Yes. Number one, don't be afraid. In Vietnamese, please. Number one,
Đừng
don't be
sợ,
afraid.
đừng sợ.
Okay. Number two, network. get together.
Yeah.
Conclusion, when you do one and two, nobody can stop you. And you
Yeah.
will change and improve many things in this country. I wish
Mm.
you all the best of luck. And I sincerely want to say thank you, Kaman Ratneu, Mrs. Ngoc, because in my market plan and in my market situation in Vietnam, we talk about time to market, and the time to market in this market, executive education, marketing planning, strategic planning, is what we call the early adopters. You know, customers
Yeah.
come
I'm the early
and say,
adopter.
you are in this group of early adopter. You find something new, interesting. You are brave enough. You try. So I thank you
Yeah.
for this, and I thank you also for taking the initiative to organize this meeting tonight and to spend all the time to do the work you did, communication and everything. So, Kaman Radnew.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Bye, Michelle.
Bye bye.